How goes the family? Welcome back to Let Anything Goes. Hopefully you guys have been having a great week, productive day, productive week, all that great stuff. Today's discussion will be talking about Mr. Clay Milburn. Now, Mr. Clay Milburn, his story motivated me, and hopefully it motivates you all at the same time. Mr. Milburn was a Louisiana sharecropper's son who went from waiting tables at one of the most prestigious restaurants off the Gulf Coast of Galveston, Texas, one of the most popular restaurants. And he ended up launching one of the most popular restaurants within that Galveston, Texas region. Now, one thing that I would like to point out is that growing up as a sharecropper, and from what I've been told from members of my family, because I have myself have never been a sharecropper, but I am a descendant of some sharecroppers. Unless you own the land, you're not really going to make that much money from sharecropping. Let's just call it what it is. Owning the farmland, your wages aren't going to be the highest. You know, anything wrong with that? Absolutely not. But it just shows you the meager, humble beginnings that Mr. Milburn came from. And it definitely made him to the man that he became. And I think that's an awesome thing to always point out. Okay, but you know, and you gotta look at it like this: when things are hard, they can give you the right motivation or the wrong motivation, depending on the person, to do something different. You know, better. You can do something better, change the outcome of your life. Mr. Milburn owned Clay's Seafood Restaurant. I wish I would have had a chance to frequent this place myself, because I go down to the Gulf Coast region at least once a year. So, and anyways, so Mr. Milburn's Clary's Seafood Restaurant, and from what I heard from a lot of people, because I have a lot of friends that live in that area of the country, this place was known for its great Southern hospitality. Mr. Milburn always had this white, somewhat of a Stetson cowboy hat on, and the skills that he had, the biggest and best skills when it came to preparing Louisiana-style gumbo and shrimp dishes. And if you've ever been to the Gulf Coast of the United States, you know, especially like the Louisiana and the coastal Texan region, or just the whole Gulf Coast region, period, but especially Louisiana, they have some of the best food and greatest hospitality, customer service throughout the United States of America. I mean, most places put the DMV to shame when it comes to great customer service, but the folks down there really know how to cook some food and they show you a good time all at the same time. You know, great customer service. So, and I'm big on that, because when I'm paying to do something, I want to have the best experience possible. Mr. Milburn's story was brought to my attention by a friend of mine since Mr. Milburn passed away in 2016. This person I know, he actually grew up in the Galveston, Texas area, and he talked about this place a lot, and I looked it up, and unfortunately the place was no longer there anymore. It's permanent. I looked up on Google the other day, and it's permanently closed, you know. But Mr. Milburn, with his children, siblings, grandchildren, and had a nice large gathering at his home when he passed. He was with them when he passed away. It was unfortunate. But at least he was with his loved ones when he left this world. And I don't think most people can ask for more than that. You know, if you gotta go in style, right? So Mr. Milburn was born on October 10th, 1940 in Opelousas, Louisiana. I want to make sure I got that one right. where he and his family were known for being farmers. He ended up moving to Galveston, Texas when he was 18 years old for better opportunities. A lot of people do that, especially if they lived in a small town. But even vice versa, that sometimes people leave a big city and go to a small town and find opportunities, just depending on the situation, right? Okay. Mr. Milburn had limited education, but definitely valued hard work. He lived in and worked his way out of what was known at the time as island public housing, and amongst his friends were considered one of the most prominent and affluent families in the Galveston County, Texas area. But unlike most people who have wealth, Mr. Milburn treated people with respect and kindness, which is definitely another thing that is going away nowadays, because we live in such a freaking me society that everybody just is all about them, and respect and manners is kind of gone out the window when it comes to most people, no matter what their quote unquote financial status is or how they were brought up. It's very big me society nowadays. Yeah, and but I give him a lot of credit. Because even when Mr. Milburn was around a lot of famous and important people, he never lost his common down-to-earth touch, which is something that you should never do. You know, never forget where you come from. Never forget your, your roots, because your roots are what make you who you are. Never forget that, because no matter where you come from, it has a lot to do with the person you are today. And I say that with sincerity. I might rag on the DMV area a lot of times, but guess what? That made me who the person I am today. So that's why I show love and respect to this area and to this place as much as possible, and try to treat people with just amount of right respect, even though most of the times you don't get that around here. But I go out of my way to do that because that's how I was raised. And I'll leave it at that. And here's the restaurant that was, Clary Seafood Restaurant. Obviously, being on the coastline, you had a lot of great fresh seafood. So, and that just makes me want to eat some good Cajun seafood right now, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? But anyways, I digress. Back to the story at hand. Mr. Milburn was married. He definitely has a great family who is still alive today. And before opening up Clary's Seafood Restaurant in 1977, he was a waiter at Guido's Seafood Restaurant, posh and private Pelican Club. Mr. Milburn also worked as a part-time cook at the former Jack Tar Hotel, and he ran a janitorial business. This is great because it shows how determined he was to become self-sufficient, and he was big on ownership, which is key. This is really why I made this story, because he was big on ownership. I see that's coming back into fruition in African American culture, and I continuously hope that mindset continues to grow. Group economics, teaming up with the right people, and just surrounding yourself with people who want to be owners, not just employees. I'll leave it at that. And he's used to living in, and given the fact that he was used to living in affordable housing, to save and invest his money in the right places. Because, a lot of people will see themselves in that situation and not see how they can now take advantage of that situation so they can lift themselves out of that situation, not become complacent, because complacency can become a death wish for you, depending on your circumstances. He used that situation to his advantage instead of just living like, he was going to stay in that situation forever, because he didn't want to stay in that situation forever. His ambition and goals climbed him to a higher level than what most were prepared for. So I think that was a great thing too. He's the embodiment, shows that, hey, you can come out of the project and do something with yourself outside of just being a ball player or a rapper. No disrespect to ball players or rappers and singers, but he's just showing that with hard work and dedication and the right mindset, you can do anything that you want to do. So, Mr. Milburn, you get my respect for that one. And one thing I noticed, a lot of people who were born generations between 1930, and please pay attention to this, or 1920, between 1920 and 1970, a lot of them believed in home ownership and business ownership. And like most, the fact that Mr. Milburn worked 2 jobs and had a side business shows his determination. The article stated that, the one I read the other day, stated that during his time as a waiter, when people went out to eat, they had a specific waiter in mind that they wanted to wait on them. It was Mr. Milburn's culinary gift, and eventually would earn him a national reputation, a loyal following, and led to the opening of Clary's Seafood Restaurant on Tetcham Road, where in better days, as the article stated, celebrities would dine while visiting the island. Mr. Milburn was active in the community and served on various boards. He also loved his horses, which are being cared for by his family in Wilmer, Texas. Clary's Seafood Restaurant was like other island businesses, struggled to return after Hurricane Ike, which was struck in 2008, and in 2011 the restaurant was actually damaged in a fire. So went through a lot of trials and tribulations when it came to the restaurant in later years, unfortunately. The restaurant ended up limiting its hours, but still had a loyal following, although business had slowed. And that's the one thing, when you have a great product, people are going to want it no matter what. So that says a lot all at the same time. Mr. Milburn's sons, Dexter and Dwayne, worked hard at the restaurant. Dexter was a chef, and Dwayne held bartending and other positions, Cooper said. Cooper said that the family was still discussing whether Clary's Seafood Restaurant would reopen, but at the end of the day, Mr. Milburn's restaurant is no longer open. It's permanently closed, unfortunately. But it was and I think the article stated that it was hard to imagine the restaurant without him. He was the soul of the restaurant, So it's sad to say. In closing, I will say this. It doesn't matter how hard your life started, but it definitely matters how, and not only how, but it definitely says that it's up to you on how you want your life to end. Now, obviously, you have certain things that can happen in life that could end up killing you. Crazy things, incidents happen, like unfortunately the incidents that have occurred within the last week across the country. It is very sad, and my heart goes out to those families who are suffering because of those incidents that have occurred. I will say that with sincerity. But I will say that excluding incidents like that, it depends. You, for the most part, you are the CEO of your life, because your life should be run like a business. Okay, 1. 2, your life might start out hard, but you need to figure out if you want it to end that way all at the same time. Choices, people who you're around, the extra miles that you're willing to go in life. All this stuff matters the most. And I chose Mr. Milburn's story because that reminded me of those such things. And at the end of the day, it's not only just hard work, but it's mindset. It could take you to places that you would never imagine. And that's the thing, everything starts with the mind. Everything starts with the mind. And if you have the right mindset and you have the right goals and aspirations and you're willing to do the work, because that's the main thing. You can want all these specific things like that you want, but if you're not willing to do the work, then it's pointless and it's meaningless, and you just fall in the category, unfortunately, of just being lazy without you even really knowing it. When someone tells you that you cannot do something, you got to look at Mr. Milburn's story, who started from sharecropping. And may Mr. Milburn rest in peace. And you got to say, because one thing I give to people who are farmers, they're the reason why I just had my dinner, because people farming. Some of the hardest working people, down to earth people on the planet. So farm workers or anybody who works in the food industry from that level, to ensure that people can even buy food, you get my love and respect. So let's keep that clear. Okay. But on the last note, look at Mr. Milburn's story, and say to yourself, what is your excuse? Because the only thing I can think of is laziness, mindset, determination, or even sometimes just not even seeing the beaten path. Because if you don't see yourself 10 years from now doing something different and something that's outside of yourself, then you probably won't be able to do it. And I end this video off with, always remember, you can't get fired if you own the company. So try to own something. That's all. Hopefully you guys like the video. Please like, please share, all that good stuff. And hey, you guys take it easy. And thanks for all the love and support. Take care.